Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Dominika here with another day of a live event dedicated to full surrender to God, titled Give Me the Impossible. Today is the day 2 when I will be sharing a little bit more of the messages that will benefit those who are feeling those moments, this calling inside of your heart that you either want to become closer with God or that you feel so truly entrapped in your life and you are being called to surrender simply so you can be freed and released of whatever bondage is holding you back to live your greatest life, to live your life purpose, to simply be happy. But before I'm gonna start, my name is Dominika. For those who don't know me or see me for the first time here on Facebook or on YouTube, I am a spiritual teacher. I work very closely with Yeshua, who is my main teacher, my companion. I am an energy healer and a channeler. And also before I'm gonna go to day 2, where I will be giving you today more specific guidance on how to prepare yourself for the surrender. What does it truly mean to fully surrender? What can be the obstacles to fully surrender? I just wanted to say a massive thank you to all of you who left comments here on Facebook and those of you that left really heart-warming, heart-opening comments on YouTube. Specifically, I wanted to send a lot of gratitude to Camila, who is my dear friend from primary school. And Camila is a very deeply loving person. And Camila, I remember you as the prism of the God's light since from our childhood. And I know a little bit about your life, and from my heart to yours, I really do hope that your intention will start giving fruits in your personal life right away. Secondly, I wanted to highlight Tracy, who is always watching my videos, and she's also always leaving beautiful comments. Tracy, I know how close you are with Jay, and I know that he's pushing you to become more visible with the messages he's leaving for others through you, within you. And I wish you all the best of luck, and most of all, a lot of courage and faith that you came here to do his work, that you came here to give his word to others. And also I would like to mention Ryan, who I never met in physical life, but Ryan is an amazing person who donated a very significant amount to my GoFunding website to support children that went through physical, emotional, mental abuse. And in return, Ryan received a beautiful channeled painting from me. And the painting that came through me for him was the portrait of the Holy Spirit. Ryan, I just wanted to say that I absolutely adore you. I love you for everything that you have done for me, for the support that you have also shown to me through the messages that we exchange. And again, I do know where you are at in your life. And I just wanted to say that Jesus loves you so much, and he is definitely calling your name. So please, please respond to that call. And I know that your life and your intentions they have been already received, and God will respond to your intentions very, very soon. Please keep watching all the videos, because I know that they are made for you, as for all of you who decide to stay and watch. And I really do hope that every single one of you, whether you will be watching a full video or just glimpse of it, you will receive the message that's supposed to find you. You will hear the one exact word that will be the guiding word that will lead you closer to God, to your truth, and to your sovereignty. Now, right away, I just wanted to say that I don't really feel in my best form today, although that might be just an illusion of my mind. I was very close to postponing this video, but I have to say that whenever I am committing to do this kind of work, simply to come and share messages that Yeshua is given for my personal life, and in the same time for the life of others, because we are all one. I am going through so many spiritual attacks, and this is something that I will also discuss in more details tomorrow, because the enemy will try to slow you down. The enemy will try to wear you down. The enemy will try to talk you out of the idea of serving God, of passing on his word, to be the vessel of his beautiful healing energy. And this is something that should always encourage us to find more power, more strength and faith and trust within us. And that's what I'm trying to do through showing up instead of all the stubborn energy, this resistance that I was feeling this morning. And I'm going to do my best to pass on the messages that, first of all, come from Yeshua, but they also come from my personal experience of surrender. I have to say that every single thing that I've been going through in my life, not intentionally, but I think it simply comes from the way I am. I was really dedicating myself to be very observant to certain dynamics within the mind, the human mind, that are happening when we are going through certain experiences, including the experience of full surrender. And even though I know that certain things possibly could be done much quicker, I find a lot of pleasure in being able to observe those dynamics within myself, because I know that if certain things will work for me, then I can come and I can openly share them with you as a testimony. And being authentic being authentic and sharing the steps that I took through my ignorance, and then therefore experiencing some pushbacks, and also taking the rightful steps that allowed me to make progress in my life. I am becoming an honest person, and I am doing what I always wanted to do, which is to give you the truth. So today we will speak more about how to prepare yourself for the surrender, and what the true surrender, the full surrender really is. And before we're going to go into surrender, let's focus for a moment on the control itself. I think that the control is so greatly present within today's collective, within the population, within the humanity. And the control can have so many different forms. But every single control, whether this is a control when you are trying to control certain situations in your life, people in your life, finances in your life, wherever you are trying to prove something through the control, whenever you are acting through the stubbornness, it doesn't really matter how it appears on the outside. The truth is that the control itself starts because we are afraid of something. We always act from the control. We always are acting in a controlling ways out of fear. Therefore, the control, regardless of how it appears on the outside, is always a tool of the enemy, is always a tool of your ego. The control itself is something that goes directly against the life force energy. Because what I've been shared, what God shared with me in the most recent months of my life, is something that I shared with you yesterday, that the life is always in flow. Life is always in balance. It is us who is creating the distortion to this flow. It is us who is creating the distortion to the receiving that the life, to receive everything that life has for us, because we want to control things out of fear. I said to you yesterday that God loves us so much that the things that are needed in our life, in order for anything to happen, in order for any desire to come to fruition, are being placed on our path even before we know, even before we are aware that we need it. And therefore, life itself knows the way for you to get where you need to be, for certain things for you to happen. But because we have the fear, and I think the most dominant fears that our ego is trying to convince us to be the truth is that something will be not given to us, or something will not be there on time, or that we will not receive it at all. If there is a deep fear within us that I am not going to receive it at all, regardless of what it is, whether it is something physical, whether it is an internal healing, whether it is a physical healing, it always means that the deep wound that our ego and the enemy is trying to use against us through the formation of this kind of belief that I am not going to receive it at all, is the wound of rejection. And I briefly spoke about the wound of rejection, that many of us who are going through the healing processes will immediately start to look for certain events that took place in our childhood, where this kind of wound potentially has been created. But as much as it is a rightful thing to do, and definitely very helpful, and definitely can help you to release those illusions that made you believe that you are unworthy of receiving love, care, support, the core wound of rejection actually started right after we went through the first illusion, which was the illusion of separation from the source, from God. And because of this deeply rooted wound that actually did not start in the childhood, what happened in childhood actually was our subconscious mind that remembered the pain, the unconscious memory of the pain that we as a soul experienced when we supposedly separated ourselves from the source, has then projected out in the early years of our life, which is our childhood, the pain of this wound that manifested itself in a scenario that potentially this time in a childhood was played out by our parents or caretakers, where we didn't receive what we wanted to receive, what we craved to receive as little children from our parents. I am mentioning this because if you will come across a deep resistance in surrendering fully to God, because of the fear that you will not succeed, because of the fear that God will not give to you, because of the fear that God will definitely reject you, that God forgotten you, that God forsaken you, I want you to not allow this thought to sink deeply into your mind and your heart. Instead, what I would like you to do, what I can advise you on doing, is simply sit with it without any judgment. It might be impossible for you to tap on your own without help of someone who can supervise this process through a hypnosis, through a meditation, to help you tap into that deep subconscious memory of losing it all, which was losing God, separating from God. It might be difficult to do it on your own, but you can do it with help of another person, and simply approach yourself as a soul, as a being, with deep compassion. What the enemy, what the ego will try to create out of this deep wounding, when it first will tell you that God forgotten you, God will never respond to your surrender, God will never take care of your life, what I want you to acknowledge is that upon of this belief, the ego will try to convince you that you will only be safe when you will be the one controlling things. And ego will start building up different beliefs on top of that that will be aiming to convince you to stay in the control, to stay in that cage for much more longer, potentially sometimes even for the whole life. Secondly, if you will be able to tap into that, if you either do that on your own or with help of somebody else, I want you to allow literally the divine to step in and allow you and help you to acknowledge that the separation actually never happened. If we go back to if we would try to go back to the beginning of the creation, of this planet, this specific planet, because this is the planet where the duality exists, we would know that this initial illusion of separation is the illusion upon which actually the whole reality here is being built. Because only through this initial separation, the reality where everything is separate from me, including God, could be created. So ego's existence is basically based on that initial illusion that we separated from God, and we have been rejected by God, God has abandoned us, and so on. I am again also mentioning this because ego and the enemy will try to use it as its main weapon against you when you will choose to step into the surrender, and it will create a huge and very strong resistance. So working around the belief that actually God never rejected you, that you will never be forsaken, that God loves you infinitely, that you never actually left home, that you can always return to God, that you can always let God in, that there is nothing, literally nothing, ever standing between you and God, even if the ego, the enemy, will try to convince you that you have been such a bad person, that you've been such a sinner, that you've been living in sin for such a long time, that you should never attempt the full surrender. Again, I'm going to speak in more details on how the enemy, the ego, will try to sabotage your surrender tomorrow. But today I simply wanted to emphasize that any type of control where we are trying to control something external is still an illusion. Why? Because the external is a mirror reflection of you. So whatever you are trying to control, what you are actually doing, you are allowing yourself to be controlled. The control that you are trying to apply on the circumstances, the control you are trying to apply on another self, your brother, your sister, will always be felt by you. What we should start focusing on is, of course, the internal me, the internal self, the union with God, the peace of God, so then it can reflect itself in an external world. Whenever we are trying to control external world, what we are doing, we are trying to control an illusion because it does not exist. It's a mirror reflection. The only thing that is true here is you, your essence, your oneness with God, the God's kingdom within you. And this is what we're supposed to be working on this union with God. This is why I am doing this live event, to help you to navigate through this full surrender. Unfortunately, for many of us who went through, well, let's say those deep woundings in a childhood throughout the life, that again was nothing but certain memories stored within the subconscious mind, playing themselves out within the external. Because remember that the external is our mirror, but it mirrors absolutely everything. And when I mean everything, it will mirror your current thoughts, your conscious thoughts, your conscious beliefs, but also the unconscious beliefs, unconscious thoughts. It will also mirror, believe it or not, everything that you still feel energetically identified with. For example, your other lifetimes, your other incarnations that are happening simultaneously within different timelines. So whatever is very strong, whatever is very prominent, any karmic cycles, things like that, it will also try to play itself out within the mirror. It's all a mirror. The reality you're looking at is you. Everything is you. So when we start to observe the control, what it truly is, and we realize that when we are trying to control external, what we are controlling is an aspect of us that needs, for example, healing. It is our mind, because the whole life is happening within the mind, And now the mind, out of this error, out of this confusion, out of this misunderstanding, is creating something that is not out of love. And we are trying to control it because it is causing us pain. What we are doing, we are fighting with it, not knowing that we are fighting with us. And we are creating an internal conflict. We are creating this inner war. The more I'm trying to control everything that is happening in my life, people that are coming into my life that again are also the mirror reflection of me. And often, you know, the people who are coming, they will start to reflect those aspects of us that are acting out of error, that are acting out of ill mind, that are acting out of mind that needs help, that needs healing. The more we create this kind of war, we very with time we can realize that every single aspect of our life is crumbling down. Every single aspect that we try to control, every single situation we try to control and fight with, is fighting us back. The more fear is being present, because we always fight out of fear, because we are scared of something. We are scared of losing someone, we are scared of losing something, we are scared of losing money, we are scared of being punished, we are scared of being rejected, we are scared of being abandoned. The more fear, the more fight is being created, because we want to protect ourselves, because we don't want to be hurt. And this is the biggest illusionary war that the enemy is creating within us, that we are then experiencing as our own life. And now, unfortunately, the pattern that was visible within the biblical times when Jesus was calling in his disciples, and a pattern that we can observe in a daily, day-to-day life within people, within ourselves, is that the more pain there was, the more trauma there was, the more fear and the more control, the more we actually going to destroy this life. And the enemy, we could say, will be triumphing over us. The more we are getting closer to that moment where we no longer can carry that like that anymore, where we are running out of options, when we are running out from the solutions, where we feel so lost and so sad that we come to a conclusion that we are ready to give up on the physical mind. Hopefully we do not come to a conclusion, but I know many of us will, that I want to end this life. This is nothing but a disaster. This is nothing but a pain. This is nothing but a suffering. But we can always choose God. And Jay told me a few months ago, when I was going through those attacks, he said to me openly, you know, don't worry, Dom, because whenever the enemy thinks that they brought you down, that they wear you down completely, they are actually bringing you closer to me. Because out of this powerlessness, we are eventually coming to a point where we feel it's either me leaving that matrix physically, or I have to surrender it all, because I simply can't live like that anymore. I feel like I'm losing my breath. I feel like I can't breathe. I feel there is no freedom. We do not realize that we created that, and we should not be following another illusion, another lie, when we are becoming angry with ourselves, because that's also something that the enemy will want. It will try to create a self-hatred within us for creating that mess. It is very important to try to stay sane and try to stay compassionate towards yourself. But it is also very important to simply sit and accept. Sit in acceptance that, okay, this is what it is. I am experiencing this kind of life because evidently there are wounds within me and my mind is operating from errors. I do accept that in this human experience, with this human mind, where often this human mind, in the midst of those problems, those issues, is becoming so foggy that it becomes even difficult to make choices, make firm decisions. It even can become difficult to try to see sense in it all. And what is going to be very helpful is simply to sit in a full and radical acceptance of what we have created, but also in a full acceptance that there is a higher power. Whether you believe in God, and again, I am not referring here to any religion, but we need to accept that there is this higher power that it's time to surrender to. Because me here, even though I am a divine being, I am miraculous creation, I simply don't know how to solve this reality, how to heal my mind, and I am choosing to surrender my life to God. This is something that will be truly shifting in your life. Because the moment you choose to fully surrender to the higher power, to God, to Jesus, to whoever you believe in, you are actually stopping this internal war of fighting yourself. You are releasing the need to control. You are giving the whole control to God. You say, God, your will, my will. And in the same time, you are taking away the whole control from the enemy. Because right now, God is in a position of reorganizing your whole life. But there are also two different types of surrender. And I want you to be very aware of them for the purpose of doing it right. Because as I said in the beginning, I am very proud that I can put myself often in a position that when I made mistakes, I can learn from them and then I can come and share them with you. And this is exactly it. There's two different types of surrender. In my past, when I had a problem, when there's something that I didn't know how to figure out, when there was something that was causing me pain, and I would say, God, I am surrendering that to you, and I would immediately detach, the results would come to my life literally immediately. God would step in and solve the most difficult things in my life. I would like to share one testimony with you today, somewhere in the middle of this broadcast. But what was happening, what I wasn't aware what was happening, even though God was creating a testimony through those singular surrendered matters, and my soul was happy and I felt it was bringing me closer to God. What I didn't realize, I did not realize the ways how the ego, how the enemy works. And whenever we are going through this kind of singular surrender, surrender of the singular matter, the enemy that I wasn't aware of, I was living in a complete denial of the darkness. I was living in my bubble. What the enemy was doing, it was learning how my soul was responding. It was observing how my soul was feeling uplifted by those beautiful testimonies that God was giving me. And very quietly, without me even noticing, because I was becoming busy with my daily life again, because I wasn't stepping fully into life where God would take the first place in my life, where I was truly grateful for the help I received, but I wasn't in a place where I would say, do you know what, God, from now on, I choose to surrender it all. And so the enemy was using my mind, my subconscious mind, to make sure that next time maybe I will not feel so much gratitude. It was using still my life to keep me in the control and creating more fears and creating more convictions that, okay, it worked in the past, but it's not going to work with this. The enemy was literally, now when I look back at it, was preparing itself to use the space for all those aspects of me that I haven't surrendered to God, to bring even more control to them. So I unknowingly, I couldn't understand that suddenly, without my conscious choice, I actually would become more controlling in certain aspects. I didn't have a conscious reason to do that, but now I know that the enemy was preparing itself to make me more attached, to control certain things in my life, just so in case if I will choose to surrender it all, surrender fully and make God my priority, it will be truly difficult for me because of those attachments. I remember having a dream, probably 3 years ago or so, where well, first dream that I would like to mention potentially was when I went through this singular experience of surrender, when I actually felt God present in my life, but only in specific area. And I had this dream. I was actually staying in a hotel and I was traveling, and I had this dream where I woke up and next to my bed there was a path. There was a path that was leading uphill, and the higher the path on the hill was going, the more difficult the path seemed. There was a lot of rocks and stones and things like that. And suddenly I see God, not Jesus, I see the source, but also in a human form. And I see his presence walking up the path, and I am following him. I am walking behind him. Then I remember I shortly, very quickly turned my head around and I looked towards the balcony that was in the room, and I could see Jesus actually standing on my balcony. But I am following God on this rocky path, and when the path became more rocky, I decided, God, I can't go with you on that path anymore. I don't feel ready to walk through those rocks. And God continued on walking up the hill, and I stayed in the same place. That was probably around maybe 5 years ago. And then around 3 years ago, I had this dream where I was experiencing my whole reality literally bending, and there was this fear of losing full control. Massive fear. I felt that my ground is going to disappear in a moment, and I'm going to fall into an endless void. And I could hear very clearly the voice of God. I could change your whole life, your whole reality in a matter of seconds, but you still hold on to your attachments. And those attachments are nothing but the control. My personal process of surrender is taking me along. It's like bit by bit. But only when I started to have those moments where I could feel my heart being pulled, where I could feel this call that couldn't be avoided any longer, where I could feel God literally pulling my soul out of this distorted, still ego-based identity, I said to myself, I can't deny it anymore. It is so strong, and my ego was fighting, and it's still fighting so much. Why ego is fighting? Because, as I said, only thanks to ego this reality exists. And it doesn't mean that if we will go through the ego transformation, ego death, that everything will disappear. But you do. We all have the opportunity here. We all have the ability and the strength to embody the Christ consciousness as well, to become fully one with God, to become one with the truth. And this is what ego is really scared. And it's going to attack you in many different ways just to preserve itself. So I'm saying this again because I want you to be aware that the surrender is not some kind of, it can be fun, I guess, but it is not a process that we should attempt if we do not wish to surrender forever. This is not a process that we can simply say, I surrender, and then just live our daily life as we did. This is not a process that will not require sacrifices and face difficulties and face some fights and learn how to say no to enemy and to the illusion. It is a process of deep learning and deep testing as well on what we are actually truly believe in, because what we believe in exists. And therefore, if you feel either a call that you wish to continue on your life with God, that there is no other path for you, if your life became so difficult, so hard, where enemy managed to wear you down to a point where you feel so tired that you are close to giving up altogether on everything in your life, I want you to sit with yourself, and I want you to accept and ask yourself whether you are ready to make this commitment to a full surrender. Because once you will do, your whole life, as in this dream God told me, will change completely. And you need to accept that the first thing that you need to completely let go of is the control. And you will have to become very, very aware of the things and the people you are trying to control in your life. Because God may make you leave absolutely everything behind. Your whole old life will be gone, including maybe your job, the way you make money, people you feel close with. You need to be aware that full surrender is a very sacred process. And Jesus told me a few days ago, Dom, it's going to be very difficult, but it's going to be so worth it. And he was right, because the moment I started to fully accept, fully surrender, the enemy was on my back day and night. Day and night. But I want you also to remember that God said that there is no weapon that shall prosper against those who stand with God. And that you are not facing those battles on your own, that God is always with you. So before you choose to respond either to a call or choose to surrender simply because you no longer feel like you can manage your life, because you are at the bottom, it's okay, there is no shame in that. If you still feel like you have some fears and things like that, but you truly feel you want to go through this change, this internal shift, this return back home, I want you to accept that you will have to let go of everything. And Jay told me not such a long time ago as well, either the full surrender is either all or nothing. I can't let you go through this process again if you will surrender 99% of yourself to me and leave the 1% for the ego, for the enemy, that I guarantee you will use this 1% against you in such a manner that you will again delay certain changes in your life, certain blessings in your life purpose, your life mission, and everything else. Because that's what enemy have been doing for generations, since we exist. Enemy knows exactly how we operate. So he said very clearly, it's either all or nothing. And of course, all the fears, again, insecurities, and a massive wound of rejection that I am still healing from was brought up, and the voices and the messages, the thoughts, you are going to be rejected by God. God is not going to do that for you. But what is good in this situation, in this position where I am, for example, personally at now, is that I know how the evil works. I know how the enemy works. I know how to get out from my head. I know how to ignore and deny those thoughts. And I'm more happy that I can come and share this with you. So you know it as well. So you can have easier surrender than potentially maybe I had. So I'm going to share with you all those tips on how the enemy works tomorrow. But today more about how to prepare yourself. So let's say you decided the full surrender, the whole surrender, all or nothing, is something that you choose to commit to. I want you to acknowledge that the forgiving and repenting process is something that will be very beneficial. And it is not because God wants you to spend hours on your knees to make you feel deeply ashamed. It's simply that the repenting, the prayer, the forgiveness is an altitude of energy that will really take you through this surrender. The Holy Spirit will be upon you and will be leading you through this repenting, will be leading you through this forgiving process. You won't be alone. You don't have to say specific prayers. You do not have to, as I said, go on your knees or spend hours in a church. You can do it in a quiet space in your own home, in your own room, in your most imperfect way, but honest way. The repenting is helping you to let the light of the Holy Spirit into you. It is showing God that you are choosing consciously to let go of your own guilt, of the guilt of others, to forgive yourself, to forgive others, to start choosing different ways, to not live in the sin any longer. You are choosing that you truly want to change your life. You are choosing that the life that you led up until now is no longer serving you. And God will be there right with you, giving you all the hints through the books that you will be reading, through the videos that you will be looking at. You don't even have to read Bible, although reading Bible scriptures, or for example, the Course in Miracles that I am a massive fan of, is also a frequency that will be adding up to your inner power, your inner strength. I guarantee you that if you will create 10 minutes of space where you will invite God fully in and go through this acceptance and go through this choice making and the commitment, the whole surrender will take off in a completely different manner than, for example, you say, okay, now surrender, and what's next, God? As I said, it is a truly sacred process that can change your whole life. Because the minute you are giving the whole control to God, God knows your true self. God knows the Christ you. God knows your true potential. God knows where your blessings are awaiting you. You are putting yourself in a winning position. And yes, the enemy will be trying to fight you, but it will not prosper. It will not prosper if you will continuously, every single day, choose to spend some time with God. Choose to live accordingly to the truth. God will show you all the distortions that are still present within you. And don't be ashamed again if you will be shown that maybe this is jealousy, maybe this is greed, maybe this is pride. I was shown that I have pride in me, and I felt so shocked, and the enemy jumped on it right away. You are such a bad person. You have so much pride in you. God will reject you. God will reject you. And I felt really bad with that. But I feel grateful that God showed me those moments when I am acting out of my pride. And what is pride being, for example, exchanged with? Humility. Humility. God will show you where you will feel angry, and God will help you to release that anger and change it into compassion. God will take care of all this process, in fact. I was standing in a kitchen yesterday and I was looking at my dog through the window, and I didn't feel quite well yesterday because after the first broadcast yesterday and after certain other choices that I made that are aligned with the truth, the enemy was on my back, as I said, non-stop. And I could feel presence of Yeshua standing right next to me. And the moment he comes into your presence, you just know you're gonna win. You just know you're gonna win. Because his presence is so strong, is so healing, is so supportive, you simply know you're gonna win. Regardless of what is the ego trying to create in your mental space, regardless of what the enemy is gonna try to show you in your external, so you can jump right back on the control and try to fight with your reality, meaning fight with yourself and control yourself, you know you will win. Because Jesus, God, will not judge you in this process as long as you are going through this process honestly. As long as you are committing, because if you want to rebuild and create a true, fruitful relationship with God, you need to somehow start cultivating this relationship in your daily routines. So as I said, the first thing I would do after going through the process of making a choice, committing, accepting, forgiving, repenting, so we have now 5, I would create that space of 10 minutes a day, but every single day, because if you will start to feel resistance to go and pray, to go and speak, to sit in a silence with God for 10 minutes a day, you need to ask yourself, who is trying to create this resistance within you and why? And then you need to resist as well. And you need to go and do it regardless of no matter what. Regardless of no matter what. And you will see how easy the communication, seeing the guidance, seeing the response of the God within you becomes day by day. There are also steps that some of us will have to take. For example, if we came here as those who will break some very heavy generational curses, if amongst us are those who are being troubled by demons, that, by the way, I also did not believe are real, up until probably 3 years ago when the Spirit started to teach me, and I said, I thought it only existed in the movies. Unfortunately, as much as the only truth is the infinite love in God, we, through our own consciousness, through our fears, we actually allowed to create a lot of negative energies. So if there is some heavy ancestral karma, some heavy dark energy that we absorb from the lineage, and we've been also cultivating certain dark behaviors, thoughts, dynamics, very advisable thing to start and do is the fasting, and fasting combined with prayer. In certain times also the dry fasting, meaning not even a liquid is required, may be needed. Now, I am not going to tell you exactly for how long you should be fasting or what kind of fasting you should implement, because it is very individual thing and that should be advised to you on a one-to-one basis. But what I can tell you right away, if you will choose to step into a fasting cleansing period, I want you also to prepare for this fasting, because it's not going to work if you will choose to fast and you are successful with not eating, not drinking, not smoking, not drinking and everything else, but you kind of go through your day like you would normally go. The fasting will not have such a profound effects. It will not cleanse your energetic body, your crown chakra, your third eye, your chakras in general, if you will not approach the fasting with a very clear intention that you are actually doing that to get closer to God. This intention is also a huge working mechanism within your surrender, within the whole fasting. It will give you a deeper sense of connection to the divine, to Jesus, and more clarity in your mind. You will definitely release a lot of dark energy, maybe even some fancy demons. But it needs to be done also with the preparation. I would advise you to not engage with any external outings, to not engage with people during fasting, to actually minimize your daily activities to the minimum, and potentially actually spend this time in a solitude, in the prayer, in a meditation, in a conscious connection to Yeshua, in a reading maybe the Bible, just really in the solitude. Because during the fasting, if you are being tied by some heavy resistance of the darkness, it will really try to do everything to push you off the fasting in many different ways. But let me tell you this, even after 1 day of a dry fast, or at least almost dry fast, you will start to feel the difference. Because the fasting, what it does, it helps our spirit to become stronger than the flesh. Our flesh is very often actually the mind for many of us, because everything in this world is being designed to keep us distracted, to keep us disconnected from ourselves, from God, from our hearts, from our spirit. And everything is created for the flesh. Everything is created for the flesh. So the flesh is becoming attached and addicted to so many things. And we can speak about, eating and drinking, or smoking, or taking any other drugs, for example. But, holding a phone is also something that the flesh got used to, yeah? Being on the phone, talking to others is something that also comes from the lack. So everything that the flesh got us addicted to needs to be taken away so the spirit can arise and it can become stronger. So those distractions that very often are manipulating our day, are manipulating our surrender, are manipulating the connection that we have with God and the spirit, they just simply need to go, and we need to become stronger. We need to rise above it. We need to rise above the flesh. Another very important thing is to inform your loved ones or people that you live with that this is what you are going to do, just so they understand and they support you on this path of fasting, surrendering, because if they don't know, they may be surprised that you act certain way. They may be worried, or they may want to try to convince you that you shouldn't be doing that. So always have in mind that main intention of surrender and fasting, to get closer to God. And from that moment, you can also start surrendering your fasting, really, because God really nicely steps in when you are surrendering yourself fully in that process. And again, you will feel much stronger guidance. You will have those downloads. You will feel more. You will sense more. And therefore, you will be becoming really, you will be thinning in this veil, and you will feel God being so real. So real, because this physical reality is so physical that to believe that someone who is invisible and loves us infinitely tries to make it impossible. But in a fasting, when we are taken away from this physical, when we are taken away everything from the flesh, we are actually, strengthening that connection, and we are getting closer to the truth. We are not only start to tap into the frequency of the true self, which is the spirit, because the spirit doesn't need those bodily things, and we are therefore becoming closer and more in this union with God. Very beautiful experience. So this is the information that I really wanted to share with you if you are thinking about surrendering fully to God. And I think lastly, I just wanted to emphasize that if you will choose to surrender forever. And I'm not saying that the life will not give you opportunities where you will be having a chance to step out from it. But if you will at least once experience the love of God, when you fully release the whole control, the miracles that are becoming so apparent literally right away, especially in those aspects of your life where you've been holding so much control, you will always come back. I told you that in my past, I was experiencing partial surrenders and they were working great, but only in this full surrender, you can fully experience God. It's as Jay told me, it's either all or nothing. And I think you will feel whether this is the moment for you. You will know whether you want to continue on that path in your life as a solo person or with your family, along with God. So you can always feel that peace. So you can always feel safe. Or whether you are still not ready. If you are still not ready, don't worry. Life will make you ready. And I think one last thing that I wanted to share with you, that the moment when you let go of the whole control, you would think that everything will go crazy. It possibly will in the external, because the old matrix will be crashing and crumbling down. But let me tell you this, the moment you will fully allow God in, and you will choose that your heart belongs to God, you will feel nothing but peace inside, regardless of what will be happening in your external. And the more you will commit to that as your truth, the quicker you will go through this process. And also, if your mind will start go crazy, creating all those thoughts, what if this is going to happen? What if this is going to happen? You need to realize that it's ego who is probably navigating the whole human mind, the mental space. And because there is nothing for you to control, you don't really need to think. Instead, what you can do, you can stay in the now, and you can start enjoying your own presence in your life and start looking all around you to see where you can start appreciating everything that you have and everything that you are. Ego thinks it's very clever. And I have to say it is. But there is nothing greater than God. So with that, I am sending you all a lot of love. I hope this broadcast, even though, as I said, I didn't feel in my greatest form today, will support those of you who are feeling the nudge to surrender to God. And tomorrow I'm gonna come to share more about the ego and the enemy ways, on how they will try to distract you from the full surrender, how you can protect yourself, how you can overcome it, so your surrender process won't be sabotaged. As always, I am leaving the comment space if you would like to share your intention, what you would like to surrender, if you have any comment, if you would have any questions, as well if you are in need of any healing for your mind, for your physical body, or anyone in your family, in your friends friendship circles. Jay is asking to write the word underneath those live broadcasts, and it will be directly responded. So as I said, I am sending you a lot of love, and I'm looking forward to hear from you here on Facebook and on my YouTube channel. Have a beautiful rest of your day.